everybody, it's Apricot here, and we are starting the Facebook Live in a couple of minutes. This time we'll be making a layout like this, using a newer and an older collection mixed together. So, first of all, let me know if you can see and hear me correctly. Hi, Kanika. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. Like I said, we're doing a layout like this, or remaking something. Oh, from India. Hi. I'm from Finland, so completely different, opposite of the globe. But we're going to use different Prima Marketing watercolor supplies and mixing Pretty Pale. Peru, wow, all over the world. Mixing, sorry, I got sidetracked. Mixing Pretty Pale with Apricot Honey. So this is the newer collection, and Pretty Pale is a bit older, but they go marvelously together. So if you can see and hear me correctly, please just... Hi, Alana, from Brazil. Wow. So if you can see and hear me, please give me a thumbs up or something so I know that everything is working. So, what have you been up? Oops, no, it's not focused. Do the layout. No, it's better. Unfortunately, Sharon is sick today, so let's all say get well soon for her. But lovely Malika is here to help and moderate. So if you have any questions, just let us know and we'll answer them. And like always, I'll go through the comments after the show, so I'll just see if there's something that Malika has missed or where I need to put my input or something. The volume needs to be louder. Okay, I'm really close to the phone and my two daughters are sleeping, but hopefully it will be okay. I think I cannot do anything to get it louder. I'm not sure. Let me just ask. Do you know? Yeah. Unfortunately, but I'm trying to be really close to the phone, which is doing the streaming. So hopefully you'll be able to hear. So yeah, this is something we're doing today. So let's get started. Let me move the sample layout to the side for a while. So I'm using the Pretty Pale as the background paper, and I really love this collection because it has these wonderful neutral tones that work well with our other collections, and also these kind of collaged prints are really handy because they give a mixed media feeling or layered feeling to a project, even though you just used one paper. Higher volume. I'm not sure how to put it higher. Does that help if I'm here? Because this is my normal... Better, okay. I'll be just here at the side, so hopefully it will be good. But yeah, I'm using this as my background. So let me get... It's not that paper I used. It's the... Whoops. This paper. When I was doing the sample layout, it was really funny to realize that some of the texts in this page are in Finnish, so my native tongue, so it was really strange. But there's Finns in the states as well, so not that surprising, but still it was fun to be able to read. So I trimmed off the edge and now we are ready to go. So for the first thing, well, this happens a lot when I'm doing a layout, that I create something and then everything coming on top kind of hides the layers underneath, but it's part of my process, and if you want to do something like this, you can't be afraid to cover. But here's the first thing. It's an embossed resist to the paper, but especially if you're using like darker tones, it would be more visible. But as I wanted this layout to be pale and romantic and sweet, I used kind of not like totally red or dark colors in the background, which would make the resist more visible. But what I'm doing now, I'm using a Finnaber stamp with embossing ink. So it's a clear ink. That's why you can't see anything at the moment. When you look the paper sideways, you can see like a little image where you have stamped, but I'm not trying to get a perfect image. I'm just going around and around kind of the area where my photo is going to be later on. And I work a bit bigger than you would normally do, because if your photo, let me see, show, is like this size, and then you work on this kind of area, the possibility is quite great that you will end up covering everything. So now that I have some stamped here, I'm adding clear embossing powder on top, and when I do that, then you can see the pattern a bit better, because the embossing powder will stick to the places where I've stamped with the embossing ink. Still a bit hard to see because it's translucent. You can use any color of powder for this technique, but for kind of a watercolor effect, I found the see-through powder the best. So let me move this aside because I've prepped one earlier, so you don't have to hear the heat tool so much, because then I would heat this and then add the watercolors. But let me get the other paper. So here, I'm hoping the camera gets the effect, but it will be more visible when we add the color on top. I'm trying to speak only on this side, so it would be better. So that's why I go silence every time I'm not here. For the coloring part, I'm using two different watercolor products, the actual watercolor set and then the pencils. I could use the pencil just by grabbing it here and pulling it to the page immediately, but there's a possibility that the little markings are going to be shown. So an easy way to use these as paint is to have some kind of piece of plastic. This is just a crystal packaging, and I'm just rubbing the pencil onto it, and then I'm using a wet brush so I can lift the paint. I chose this set because there's a great many of different watercolor pencil sets from Prima, but I chose this one because it has perfect tones for the Apricot Honey paper line. For example, this pink tone. So then I'm just kind of wiggling my brush around the paper. Let me get that a bit further up. And I'm adding a bit of orange from the watercolor set as well. The Prima watercolors are highly pigmented, so a little goes a long way. And naturally, if you would use darker tones, the resist would be more prominent, you could see it more. But as I'm going for the same kind of color scheme that's already in the papers that I'm going to use for layering the apricot honey, then I'm choosing a bit of pale. There, for example, you can see it better. Here we go. Let's put that there. Almost. So now that you look, it's kind of a blob of color. Let me just add a bit of pinkish tones there. Let me try. I'm going to put the photo here, so I'll cover this later on, but you can see the effect better with higher contrast, so darker tones. As you can see, the embossed area, first stamped with embossing ink, and then the embossing powder on top, heated, creates a block, so the color can't absorb to the paper. But now I have kind of a blob of color, so I kind of need to mask it so it wouldn't be so harsh, the edge. So I can use the watercolor pencils also to stamp. It gives kind of a watercolor effect, so it's not as crisp as you would get with an ink. So I'm first using some just water in a mixture, getting the stamp a bit wet. So when I take the watercolor pencil and rub it to my stamp, the color gets loose and I can color my stamp using the watercolor pencil. The less you use water, the clearer the image is going to be. So, but if you want like a more watercolory, more hazy look, then use more water. But just by adding the colors directly to the stamp, I'm able to kind of try to mask the edge so it's not that harsh, just there's a line of color and then comes the paper, but I'm using the same colors and kind of masking the edge of the colored area using the stamp. And as it's the same stamp, it's kind of repeating the patterns that are already in the page. So here we go. And then remember to clean your stamp. As it's a watercolor product, I don't have to do it right now because it will go, or I can clean it afterwards. So then let's move this aside so it can dry. Naturally you could use your heat tool, but as there's the embossing powder, there is a risk that you end up melting the powder so that the watercolor can get kind of underneath it, so then it's not as resist looking anymore. So I'll try to let this air dry, and because, well, you need something to watch while it dries, otherwise it would be really boring. There's another option from the Prima repertoire to be used with embossing powder, and that's inks. The Color Philosophy inks work with embossing powders as well, and that way you can get colored images. So it's kind of giving that raised effect from the embossing powder, but at the same time you get the color underneath, and still you need just one powder. You don't, there's a lot of different like colors of the powders available, but if you have clear and colored inks, then you have like a great variety of different finishes in a way, even though you just have that one powder. Let's do it this way, it's easier. So I'm using Color Philosophy Poison Love ink because of the neutral tone and about like a little hint of blue. So it's kind of contrasting color from all the orange I have going on in the page. These are already done, but I think I can manage one more bird here. So I'm just stamping it. And with embossing ink, it's meant that it's really slow drying. But with Prima inks, you need to be a bit faster. There's the powder there. And then you just add the powder on top. As you can see, it grabs onto the ink, and then we heat it. Sorry for all the noise. And it's done. So now it has a bit of raised effect, and even if you're working with kind of water active inks, so if I would just stamp it and add water, it would bleed, but the embossing powder also kind of seals the ink in, so you can even add water on top and it won't bleed that well. I'm just saying hi to everybody from here, because when I'm talking from the side, as it's kind of required, as you were saying, it wasn't loud enough, so I can't watch the screen, but I'll go through the comments after the show, so I'll see if there's anything I've missed. Now that we're still waiting a bit for the page to dry, so let's finish the embellishments. This time I didn't pre-cut all of them, just that there's a bit of drying time. And I also thought that if you like fussy cutting, I think I've said it before, but when you're fussy cutting with scissors, I like to use my scissors. I don't use a craft knife. I'm not that skilled. With a craft knife, I don't get anything done, but with scissors, it's faster for me. So I'm kind of, as you can see, I'm moving the image, not my scissors. The scissors stay put, only they go kind of, I open and close them so they cut, but the other hand is moving the image around, so I can just concentrate on the movement. Well, not when I'm talking, but still. So, like that. Now we have a butterfly and a bird ready for the embellishing part. And we can do one more thing before actually making the layout. Let me already get this one because it's almost done. This paper is from the Pretty Pale collection again, and I'm going to use the flower in the page. Let me get the sample layout there. As you can see, it's a bit different because I colored it to match the other flowers I have going on there, because I only have like a 6x6 pad from the Apricot honey, and I really like the colors, but the flowers in the 6x6 pad are naturally smaller than the 12x12 ones, so I needed a bit of bigger set of bigger flowers, and I found them from the Pretty Pale paper pad I already had in use, but these neutral flowers don't mix with the apricot ones as they are colored. But as they are opposite sides of the photo, and these are neutral tones, they are not like blue or something, I'm able to color them using the watercolor products and thus match the two color palettes in the same project. So now we have that one also done and ready to be colored when the time comes. It's almost done, so maybe I'll add a hint of color to these, and then we can get creating the layout. So this should be a bit of a, oh, you can't see anything. I'm mixing a bit of green and a touch of brown, so it wouldn't be that like Kermit green. And as it's printed, I don't have to be too careful, like I don't have to color it perfect. Just add a bit of green to the leaves, and oops, let's get this one here, and then kind of the same warm pinkish peach, well, apricot kind of color for the flowers. Let's try that one. Yeah, pretty good. Maybe a hint of, yeah, here we go. Then let's move that aside and get cracking with the actual layout. A table is too small, so for the first thing, these are cut from the Apricot honey set, like the 6x6 pad, and I'm kind of creating a line using them. To me, creating a layout is all about kind of horizontals and vertical lines, and the intersection of those two should be around the photo, so it's kind of guiding the eye in for the photo. So I'm using a teeny tiny bit of double-sided tape, just that they stay put, and doing this kind of a wavy line in a way, using them. Probably they end up being like in my sample layout, there's 1.5, let's say, showing in the end. If you are really like focused, you know what you're going to put your photo, and you know kind of the size of your paper layers beforehand, then naturally you can leave a couple of them away. But I like to be more like going with the flow, just creating and then seeing what's happening in the layout. And I was able to use just a couple of strips of double-sided tape because I'm adding then something on top. This is from the Art Daily line, a little washi tape that's kind of sticking the little cards better to their place. And with the sample layout, I also add some machine sewing. You can see it better from this side. But when I was thinking, like, do I prepare another layout for this stage with the sewing part? But as you can see from the finished layout, it's just a teeny tiny detail. It is there, but I thought that I'll skip it with this layout. But especially if you're using stitching on top of your layout, let the paper dry thoroughly, because when the paper is wet, it's kind of in its most vulnerable. So vulnerable. Come on, I can't say the word. It gets ripped really easy. So make sure that it's completely dried if you add sewing on top. And that's a perfect way to add here kind of little things where you don't want to use a lot of glue. So that's kind of the bottom layer. Then I think this is going to be here. And then we need more papers to do the paper layers. And what I also used in there was an envelope. This was kind of too big for that one, so I just folded a couple of times to make it a bit shorter. Come on. Naturally, if you have a smaller envelope, that would be handy. And if you do it like this, then you can't get anything inside. But if you use a smaller envelope and make sure that when you're adhering the layers on top, you don't actually seal the envelope in, you can add journaling there, kind of hidden in plain sight, so to speak. I so need a bigger table for the live shows. So now I'm just cutting random pieces from pattern papers. And for the layers, I'm mainly using the Apricot honey. What else? Let's add that one, maybe. And anything else? No, let's go with that. For the paper layers, I'm usually using one a bit bigger element, and that's the envelope, and then all the others are smaller, so they are easy for me to then collage or like put together in layers. And this one is from the Pretty Pale, where I cut the flower from. I'm getting one of these elements from here as well. It's up to you if you like to use scissors all the way or if you want to use a paper cutter. I usually use paper cutter, it's easier for me, but whatever is better for you. So the first thing is to do the paper layers, and then we can add the flowers and the little like details. And I'm usually doing the paper layers just in my hand, holding the photo and then tucking the different papers underneath. And for the paper layers, I'm also kind of going zigzag, or like adding some horizontal pieces, adding some vertical pieces, and it usually pays off when you add something for the other side and then repeat it on the other. And when it starts to get that my hand can't hold the layers anymore, in comes the stapler. Naturally, if you would have something on the envelope, then don't use stapler, at least not like that. But first adhere all the layers and then use double-sided tape, for example, to get the actual envelope there, so you don't lock everything in. Let's use that one there, and maybe a piece here as well. Like that, yeah. Then let's staple these in. Oh, somewhat straight maybe. And there's the paper layers now done. It's going to be here, and the same as the sample layout. There's 1.5 showing. But I've always said that to me it's more about the process than the end result, or, well, at least 50-50. Naturally, I want the layout or card or whatever I'm doing, canvas, look good, but to me it's all about the also about the process of creating. I just can't and let loose. I don't have to think that, oh my god, then the photo is going to cover everything, but I can just have fun with the colors and create the background and then continue with the photo, kind of hoping that something will be visible in the end, but also that it's part of the process. I've had fun creating it, so it's gotta be kind of showing from the project in another way, if actually not the layer is showing. And now I'm using just foam dots to first adhere the photo to the cluster and then the whole cluster to the page. I'm sorry, I'm missing all the chat because I'm trying to keep myself here in the near facility of the microphone. I'm not sure if there's a microphone available for a phone, so I could have it on my table for the next show. I need to look into that. Oops, that's all crooked. Here we go. Now they are there. So, as you can see, there's the layout layers underneath everything, and then I can start embellishing. It's a kind of slow process in a way, like I'm adding something and then a little bit of something, but the main focus should be on the photo. Oh, it's that way. That's why it's not going. As I want this one to be here. Come on. Like so. And then we have the other here. As this one is kind of going that way, maybe I'll be able to use these flowers here. Yes. And I'm just using paper glue to adhere these. So now there's the big flower parts. Then we have our butterfly. And where's the bird? Come on. Where did I ended up putting that one? There it is. Maybe there. And this one could be here. These I don't adhere just yet. Hi Liliana. Yay, I saw a comment. Perfect. So we're doing a layout today using some watercolor products and mixing two collections. And these flowers are actually from the Moonchild collection, but it also has this perfect apricot kind of tone that goes well with the papers. So these I actually adhered, but now when I'm adding the Prima blooms, I'm kind of thinking where to put them, and I can move the stamped images still around. But as you can see, I'm kind of doing this side, that side style, so there's something on both sides going on. Maybe this flower, oh no, flower, bird could have one more. Then maybe here still. Yeah, let's go with that. I don't think too much about the composition, because if you don't glue something in, there's like an endless possibility to move things around, so you might not get anything done when you just shuffle things around. And especially during a live show, that's not we are after at the moment. And again, I'm using just craft glue to get the flowers. I'm not sure why it doesn't want to stick where I put it. There, stay put. Yes, like so. And then some more little details. These are just teeny tiny paper clips that are always handy. When you're adding elements around the photo, try to add something like on top and something underneath, so it kind of seals the photo in a way, because there's something going on both sides. And come on, they are really cute, but they are really hard to get to stay. And then some stickers. We want to add a feather here. These stickers are from the Amber Moon collection. Maybe the little bird, because there's feather, then bird. It's kind of just little details. And this stage you can kind of go on and on, just adding little things for eye to catch. And then a couple of crystal stickers. Again, I'm using the same composition I already have going on, kind of the linear, that's the way you say it. Here, and then one there, and somehow missed it. Glue part, so let's use that. And then I saw that this hasn't been stapled, so I can glue that in like so. And then I'm using a word from one of the cards as kind of the title for the page. Cut that loose and glue that on. Like so. And then kind of the last detail, I was inspired by the florals here, so I mimicked them using the Finnabar glass beads. So you can see here and here, there's kind of little clusters mimicking the center of the flowers in the background. So it's just to put up blob of, okay, that's my teacup. No. Sorry, I forgot to remove that earlier. So here we go, and then one more here. And then I just sprinkle the pearls on top, kind of creating a little mountain, hive, what are these called, with them. Even though all the pearls are not sticking to the glue, I'm going to leave it like this to dry, and only afterwards get rid of the extra, because they are really easy then to put back to the jar, the ones that are not sticking. I'm kind of trying to mimic the shape of the insides of the flowers, and also kind of the same type of color that there was. The last thing I did with this layout was to add these parts, because I was feeling, even though I tried to round the photo by these kinds of layers, it was missing a vertical element. So I cut a teeny tiny piece of pattern paper and kind of fastened the photo or the cluster to the edges of the page, and also added a little space for journaling. With this, I'm not seeing the same kind of flowiness that it kind of needs that, but if you're feeling that it's not staying put in a way, the composition you have done, then adding a bit of string or just a teeny tiny element, highlighting that vertical element if you have the horizontal, or the other way around. If my composition would be like this, then it might need something from here. But here I guess it's the pink paper that's kind of enough for me to be okay with it. Or then it's just that I'm looking it from the side as I try to speak to the speaker at the same time. But if you feel that you need to ground the photo somehow, then adding a bit of stripe or pattern paper might do the thing. So, for example, that's a perfect little journaling spot. We can add perhaps, or then this one from the Pretty Pale papers, as they have these amazing looking little layers even though the paper is totally flat. Oops, no, I couldn't copy it. Or then maybe that one. And kind of just tuck something here to highlight that other dimension. So it's kind of putting it the photo to the center of the cross, and so it's staying put. But it's up to you if you feel like it. For this I might add just those, and it's enough. I don't have to have longer. So thank you so much for coming. I hope you liked it, and there's a really big variety of different watercolor products for Prima, and you can even watercolor with Color Philosophy inks. So if you're just joining in and missed the show, the recording will be available quite shortly, and if you have any questions, just type them in and I'll answer them in a moment. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Malika, for being here to moderate. Thank you all for watching. Kiitos suomalaisillekin, kun tulitte. Yay! And like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you. Have a nice evening or day or night, depending where you are. Bye!